Hello everyone. So today we are going to spend some time analyzing sports consumers. How do we identify and select target consumers we wanted to focus on? How can you better understand the consumers who are mostly likely to respond to our sports products and services? One strategy to help us understand our potential consumers is segmentation. And that's what we'll be exploring today. What is the single most important factor that defines fan identity? Is it the team color, the athletes, or is it the sport itself? At the broadest level, many would say it's the team I support. However, in reality, the players and coaching staff of the sport teams are never permanent. Even when players change, fans don't switch their favorite teams every season. According to the research by Nelson and NFL, fan loyalty is strongest when a fan's place of the residence or origins matches the locations of the home team. Take Kansas City Chiefs, for example. I've heard many of their fans say, I was born here, so I basically grown up with this team. That sense of having grown up alongside of the team is at the core of their fan identity. In recent years, however, generational characteristics have emerged as another major factor in defining fan identity. For example, when you were a teenager, was it during the early days of the internet development? Or was it at times when you could already use a tablet PCs whenever you wanted? The answers might differ depending on who are in the class. Studies have shown that the different life backgrounds of the individuals in each generation also influence their sports consumption patterns. According to a recent Financial Times article, 75% of the sport fans aged 55 years and older watched live matches. However, among global sport fans aged 18 to 24 years, the proportion drops just to 31%. Younger viewers often prefer highlighted clips. They also engage with star athletes on social media rather than attending live games regularly. Therefore, investors and sports organization executives are looking for ways to move beyond the television broadcast center's approach. They are exploring new ideas to deliver live sports and developing supplementary game-related contents to better target younger fans. It is therefore important to recognize and respect these fundamental differences in individual background when planning for marketing strategies. For these reasons, a mass market, one-size-fits-all strategies is simply not feasible. Sports products and services go beyond standardized commodities. Sporting events inherently unpredictable. And selling a team t-shirt is not just about the shirt itself. It's about how you combine and present the elements of the sporting brand. The way this element is packaged and released can be critical factors in driving sales. This is why segmentation is an essential step in understanding the complex psychologies of the sports consumers. Segmentation is only one part of consumer analysis. Consumer analysis also involves examining current consumers' unmet needs and motivation. First, in determining consumers' unmet needs, the specific areas where they have experienced inconvenience or unfulfilled needs must be identified. In other words, consumers are unsatisfied because of flaws or overlooked aspects they found in the current offerings. For example, in each early days, Under Armour entered the sports equipment industry with a moisture-wicking compression shirts. These products appeal to the athletes or sports participants who are dissatisfied with traditional cotton shirts, which absorb sweat but dry slowly. At the time, the concept of the performance wear was not widely known. Under Armour made a core focus its marketing campaign using the straightforward slogan, "Cotton is the enemy," to highlight the frustrations of cotton shirts and positions its products as a clear alternative. The key takeaway here is that while it is important for a company to explore the services it can provide, it is even more critical to analyze it and identify why those offerings are important for consumers in the first place. Consumer motivation is simply the reasons consumers use a product or service. In sports, this can be the enjoyment or sense of the accomplishment that comes from the participating a sports activity. Looking at the more recent trends, we can also consider self-expressive benefits, or the idea that consumers can express their actual or ideal self-images through the sports activity they engage in. For example, working out at the Orange Theory Fitness might be driven by the feelings of "I'm expressing my inner jock." Similarly, playing golf or practicing yoga might feel aligned with one's personal images or identity. In identifying motivations, we can rank and categorize what is important to a particular consumer group. However, rather than simply looking at the order of importance, it is more important to understand the current hot button that consumers are responding to. In other words, it is often more helpful to identify the trigger points that drive consumers to purchase your products at this moment in time. In sporting events or in a sports setting, what should we be paying attention to? Is there a current rivalry matchups taking place? Or are there notable players' performances or major trade announcements? Is there a special sporting event or campaign on the horizon? These are the elements that can spark fans' motivations or the emotions, and those emotions can translate directly into purchasing behavior for sports products. The explorations of the motivations clarify that the different groups of the customers exist within a given market. In this context, segmentations helps identify the target consumers group on the basis of the customer's more distinct needs and observable characteristics. The simplest approach is to first determine the customers groups that exist in the given market, then consider which criteria or methods are the most appropriate for segmenting those customers groups within the market. Identifying segments can be challenging because of the many possible approaches to breaking down a given market. That is why it's common to consider at least 5 to 10 segmentation variables. The most useful segmentation defining variables are rarely obvious. However, regardless which sports products or service you're offering or looking at, segmentation variables can generally be grouped into 2 broad categories according to their characteristics. This segmentation criterion refers to variables related to a customer's personal characteristics, background, and disposition. These are the most often described in terms of demographics, geographics, and psychographics. Psychographics focuses on lifestyle, values, interests, and personality traits. These are rooted in individual inherent disposition and include the personality types, daily habits, and common behavioral tendencies. The second categories of the segmentation variables includes those related specifically to the products or service. These approaches divide the customers according to how they interact with the products or service. It is often referred to as a behavioral or product-related variables. When selecting sports ticket buyers, sports managers can use levels of the usages as a key criterion, dividing buyers into season ticket holders and infrequent buyers. Alternatively, managers can focus on loyalty to create a smaller, more specific segment by, for example, distinguishing between the long-term season ticket holders and new season ticket buyers. By choosing the right segmentation variable, managers can better tailor marketing strategies, promotions, and communication to match the needs of each group. This video explores the importance of segmenting sports consumers, the method used, and key variables involved. When planning a marketing strategies for sport consumers or sport products, remember that it's not about the products categories you personally find interesting, but rather about identifying what products consumers really want and which consumers' daily lives you can meaningfully impact through your offering. That concludes our discussion for today. Thank you.